Hello, Aries, and welcome to your October forecast. I hope you had a great September during the eclipses that were happening in your sixth and 12th houses. So, for the month of October, this is a month of integration and kind of seeing where the dust settles post eclipse. So, Mars, your chart ruler, is moving from its detriment in the sign of Libra in your partnership sector to its domicile in Scorpio in your eighth house of shared income and finances. So let's get into it. I think it's also interesting that last month Saturn moved out of your first house. Neptune will move out of your first house. And so you get a little reprieve. And so you get to see, like, okay, Saturn and Neptune need to finish up their transit in Pisces, which is the house of the unseen and the unknown. And you're going to get a little bit of a break until Saturn goes back and Neptune goes back into your first house early next year. But anyway, let's get into the days, the most important aspects of the month, the most important transits of the month. October 4th, Venus in Virgo will conjunct the South Node at 18 degrees. So last month, if you think back to what happened between September 10th and 11th, September 10th is when the Sun was conjunct the South Node, and September 11th was when Mercury was conjunct the South Node. This is your sixth house of your daily habits, your routines that support your life. And it's in the sign of Virgo, which is a sign about your embodiment and your health. So a lot of you might have gone through some health issues. You might have felt really weak or lethargic. You might have felt a certain level of burnout. The sixth house is a cadent house in astrology. And so the medicine of the sixth house is to work smarter, not harder. It's also a placement of needing to do things with a higher purpose, not because you can and not because you're doing it from a place of shame or I have to or I have to or I should, but because you really believe in this thing. And so Venus is in its fall here, and you have to be careful because when a planet goes through the South Node, this is a releasing, purging point. So the North Node is the head of the dragon. This is where it consumes, and the South Node is like where it poops and releases. So Venus rules your second house of your finances and income, and also your Libra house, your financial sector. So something might also be going on with those two house topics because those two house topics are being imported with Venus being here. So something going on with your relationships, you might have a falling out with somebody, or you might be overspending your money at this time. So just be mindful of that on October 4th, because also Venus is in its fall here. Okay. It's a Venus that is not as I would say well versed in the realm of what Venus wants to do, which is make bonds, and it wants to attract, right? Venus in Virgo is a mercurial sign. It's very critical, it's very judgmental, it pays attention to the detail. But ultimately, I think Virgo is a sign of embodiment. It's a sign of being rooted. It's a sign of paying attention to the detail. And yes, it could get a little perfectionist, but we need a lot of Virgos in organizing. They're really good at making plans and being strategic. On October 6th, this is when Mercury will ingress into Scorpio. So Scorpio is your eighth house. So a lot of your thinking, mind, thoughts might be into like how you are receiving money, maybe your investments, maybe your shared income with a partner. Contracts might be up for renegotiation during this time. So that is the ingress in Scorpio. And then on October 6th, there's a full moon in Aries at 14 degrees. This happens at 11:47 p.m. Eastern time. So please adjust for your time zone. So this full moon is happening in your first house and seventh house axes. So something is completing, something is being fulfilled, something is ending. in and around yourself and a partner. This could just be a moment of like an ending of some chapter, or you come to an epiphany moment where you're like, this can no longer go on. I need to be mindful of my own energy. I can't keep putting in all of this energy and time into somebody else's dream, somebody else's thing without considering my own energy. Because Aries moons are very independent. The moon represents our emotional needs and safety and security and home. And so Aries is also the archetype of the warrior and independence and risk taking. And the ruler of this full moon is Mars and Scorpio in your eighth house. And I really love the energy of a Mars and Scorpio because it's a very determined sign. It's a very determined placement. It's very like ambitious too. So a lot of Aries risings might be at this time like doing a relationship audit and looking at their friendships and people in their life and saying, is this person reciprocal of the energy that I'm putting in? Is this relationship in alignment with my values? Is this person even somebody that I want to spend time with? And then that Mars and Scorpio in the eighth house is like, okay, we're cutting this person away. Maybe you're unfollowing people on social media, but there's some clearing away here with this full moon. On October 13th, Venus will ingress into the sign of Libra. So Venus will enter your seventh house of partnerships. This is really lovely, actually. And whatever you were experiencing in terms of Mars's transit here through the month of September, um, and kind of like, cutting away because Mars was in its detriment in the sign of Libra. Venus is coming here saying, all right, let's form new bonds. Let's repair these relationships that have kind of been on the wayside. Venus also rules your second house of Taurus, your own personal finances and income. So a lot of Aries risings might be, making partnerships or signing contracts or like finding new ways of increasing your personal streams of income at this time. On October 21st, there is a new moon in Libra at 28 degrees, and this happens at 8:25 a.m. Eastern time. So this is a new moon in your partnership sector. This is a beautiful moment. Like if you are in a one-on-one partnership, like let's say you are in a romantic one or even a platonic one, this is a great day to set new intentions to like recommit and reform these bonds. The ruler of this new moon is Venus in its own sign in your seventh house. This is a great day to like recommit to something, commit to something, take your loved one out on a date. And yeah, I think the focus will be on your partner at this time. This is also a great day to meet people. The seventh house doesn't just have to be about like legal marriage partners, but just the other person. The seventh house is also like your clients. If you do client work, your one-on-one client, maybe this is a day where you decide, okay, because you've been supporting me for however many months or years, I want to give you something extra. I want to do something extra for you. On October 22nd, Neptune will retrograde back into Pisces in your 12th house. So the 12th house is one of the cadent houses in astrology, the 3rd, 6th, 9th, and 12th. These are houses about proximity and about your knowledge. So if the 3rd house is the one closest to you, right? It's the one closest to the ascendant. This is the people that you know and the knowledge that you know. And the 12th house is the furthest away. And so this is the house of the unseen and the unknown. And so if you have transits through here, this is getting you to be comfortable with the unknown and the unseen. This is also the house of self-undoing and having the past haunt you. So this is a time usually when, you know, every Pisces season, this is the season before Aries, right? So every 12th house season, people usually go through a season of isolation, of resting, of going on a retreat, taking care of themselves. And so Saturn and Neptune here finishing out their transits is this moment of like, what are some calcified beliefs or patterns that I have that are just self sabotaging myself? Um, you know, Aries rising people are very ambitious people. I mean, you want to look to your Mars, like your natal Mars placement, but there are obviously with everybody, it doesn't matter like what your chart is, everybody has stories, everybody has limiting beliefs, everybody has things that have happened in the past that haunt them, that contribute to their self undoing. So Saturn and Neptune here is to help you, you know, be realistic about it, like come back into reality and also reimagine what is possible for you. Because Saturn and Neptune together for me is disillusion of boundaries. It's reimagining what's possible. What is reality, right? That's a question that you can ask yourself during the Saturn and Neptune transit. And then Saturn and Neptune come back together at 0 degrees on February 26, 2026 in your sign. So that seems like a pretty big deal. It's almost like Saturn and Neptune going through your 12th house is getting you prepared for that moment. And I always say like Aries risings and Pluto, Aries risings and Aquarius risings are at the forefront of all of our revolutionary moments because Aries risings, you have this epic Saturn Neptune conjunction in your first house, and Aquarius risings and Aquarius placements, they have Saturn and Neptune in their first house. So it's almost like y'all are getting prepped to be the leaders of whatever movement that you feel called to lead. No big deal. Um, so where was I? Okay, so Neptune retrograding back into Pisces on the same day the sun will ingress into Scorpio. So the topics will go to your eighth house. Mercury will be in its pre-shadow at 20 degrees of Scorpio. The actual retrograde happens on November 9th in Sagittarius. So also about the eighth house is, yes, it's about house about death and mortality. It's a house of endings. It's a house of inheritance, taxes, shared income, like all of that stuff too. But it's also the house of the occult. So a lot of you might be interested in like getting a psychic reading, mediumship, a tarot card reading to help you process everything that you're going through, especially since you're also having eclipses in your sixth and 12th houses. And also, you have Jupiter in Cancer in your fourth house, and you're having these transits in the 12th. The fourth, eighth, and 12th houses in Vedic astrology are the moksha houses of liberation. So there is something that your soul is trying to get you to liberate from that might be tied to some like karma or ancestral lineage stuff. Okay, so then on October 29th, Mercury will ingress into Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is your ninth house. So the ninth house in astrology is the house of God. This is where our beliefs, our visions, our dreams live. This is the house of learning, philosophy, astrology, and also religion. So again, Mercury is the planet of communication and learning and commerce. So a lot of you just might be interested in learning something new, traveling abroad. You know, Mercury also rules your third house. Um, so like some of you might be interested in learning about spirituality in a way that maybe you weren't curious before. Mercury is in its detriment, in its depression in the sign of Sagittarius because it rules two signs. It rules Gemini and Virgo. And so your third house is Gemini. So your third house ruler is in the ninth house. So something about that, it's like I mentioned, the third house is a cadent house, and Mercury also rules your other cadent house of the sixth house. So something about your thinking, something about your views are being asked to be expanded a little, expanded into a foreign territory, something that you're not previously aware of. And I can think of so many examples right now of that. Like if you live in the United States and you grew up with this notion of like the American dream, and you pull up your bootstraps and you work really hard, and then all of a sudden you're just like, wait, why is all this stuff going down, and then you pull a little thread and you start realizing like, oh, everything that we've been taught is propaganda. Everything that we were taught in school is a pipeline to conformity, and the ways in which people here are comfortable and not willing to let go of capitalism is actually by design. Stuff like that. I know that's like an extreme example, but it's like all of a sudden your mind is like, ooh, you travel to a foreign land. Let's say, like, for example, when I started traveling abroad in 2003, that was the first time I traveled outside of the country without my family. I studied abroad, and everything that I was taught, not everything, but most of it was not true. And everything that I assumed about people was debunked once I started talking about them. And that is Mercury in Sagittarius in the ninth house. It's like you travel to Lebanon, you travel to Korea, you travel to South America, and all of a sudden you're just like, ooh, my mind is blown. But that is that transit, and you want to look out for from October 22nd, because that will be your Mercury retrograde story going from the 8th to the ninth. So that is your month of October. I hope you have a very healthy month in as much as you can with everything going on in the world. I will see you next month.